Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Micah just checking in for another update on the video series transitioning off a contest prep into a building phase. And so my other videos, I went into emotional, psychological, what that looks like coming off of prep, the tunnel vision effect, and how to kind of promote goal setting, progression, and kind of change mindset sets. And what does that look like for nutrition? And kind of giving some overview of how you can approach it leading off a prep and transitioning and trying to get into a good homeostasis, and then what that looks like for a surplus of calories. And now talking about training, workouts, what does that look like now that psychological, emotional, nutrition seems to be coming along? What does workouts look like? And as you probably know, when you go into a contest prep feeling really good, you typically have a lot of strength, a lot of power, and as you go into more of a deficit, as you drop body fat, as you drop weight, energy levels naturally come down. And trying to maximize how much you can lift may not be as apparent, may not be as clear cut as when you're in a building phase, when you have a surplus of calories. And so when you get off of prep and you naturally increase calories, you're going to increase you're going to increase just your physical activity. You're going to be able to have a lot more energy. Even outside of the gym, you're going to actually be able to do a lot more activity that's not necessarily exercise, and you're going to be able to function at a higher level because of that surplus. And so what does training look like because of this? As you get into as what you were doing before you got into a contest prep, you probably were in a building phase, and what was working. You knew what was going on. You knew what kind of workouts you enjoyed doing. You knew what type of protocols to follow. Was it high volume, low volume? Was it a combination of the two? Was it fat training? Was it drop sets? Was it a typical training split 3 days a week? Basically it's different for everybody, and to say that there's only one way to do it would be a lie to you. Basically, the best approach for nutrition, the best approach for exercise training is the one that you really enjoy doing, the one that you're going to be able to most be adherent to, because if you're not enjoying yourself, if there's some exercises that you just dread doing, you're not going to follow that protocol for very much longer, and you may get even frustrated and with your progression because you don't necessarily like a particular component of that workout or that nutrition component. So you basically, as you're getting more adjusted to your calories, as you're eating more, you're going to have the power to go through different types of workouts that you may have wanted to try during your contest prep, things that interested you, things that were working before in your previous building phase. So draw upon those type of components, because that's what's going to help you build and structure something that's going to work as you get off a contest prep. Like I said in previous videos, when you're leading into a contest prep, as you're coming up to peak week or that last week of training or last couple weeks, most likely you've already done the research, you know what works, and you're actually looking forward to a building phase. You're actually looking forward to getting off a prep at that point, and really trying to maximize and build and make progress again. And you get kind of excited in that, and that almost helps with kind of making it through and continuing on that process with your contest prep. The end is near. And so you may look at previous things that you've done, jot some things down. Like for me, for instance, for example, I really love fat training, power hypertrophy, adaptive training, just because it's so versatile that you can play around with it and have fun with it, and you can take out exercises here and there that may benefit you a lot more than other exercises, or you just to vary it up and make some micro progressions within your realm. And so that's how I'm approaching it. And for right now, you're probably thinking, how can I know that I'm progressing, or what type of goal should I be setting? Should I just go with percentages? Should I do like 65% of my max, my 1 rep max? Should I do 85%? How do I measure progress? And what I found that is just kind of doing my own research is that when you use percentages based off of 1 rep max, it gets really hazy because you're putting all your eggs in one basket, saying that my 1 rep max based on this particular day, based on how good I felt, I'm going to base all my progression towards that one number. And the problem is that maybe that was your one day that was amazing, and you're counting on every other day being about the same capacity or the same energy levels, the same feel, and that's just not the case. So give you an example. If I'm doing 75% of my 1 rep max on the bench press, the first week, and then the next week I feel just absolutely terrible, I just don't feel good, or I'm just not feeling right, and I can only get 65% of that 1 rep max. The following week I'm doing, I'm not feeling it. I'm getting about 70% of my 1 rep max, and my goal is 75%. I just can't hit it. I get super frustrated. I just feel like I'm not making progress, and that can get really frustrating. And so does that mean I quit with that type of approach? Not necessarily. Am I doing something wrong? Not necessarily. I think a good range is kind of using a mix. So you can do percentages, but also doing RPE, or rate of perceived exertion. How much effort or how much do I feel I'm pushing myself within that particular day, within that particular workout? And so basically use a scale of 1 to 10 or 6 to 20. Basically, the higher the number, the higher exertion that you're pushing. This is kind of giving you a better range of what you're doing in that particular moment, that particular day. Yeah, you may have an idea of what your baseline is, or what your target, weight that you should be using for that particular exercise, but at the end of the day, it really goes off of how you felt and how much you exerted yourself during that particular moment in time. And the idea is, week to week, you want to see a trend. You may not see progression that next week, but maybe that following week you actually have an epic lift and you actually start seeing progression. The trend is going up. It's not always linear, all the time when it comes down to progression, whether it be with nutrition, losing body fat, gaining lean mass, lifting weights. I mean, it really depends. The body is a complicated, complicated organism. So you definitely want to make sure that you're continually tracking your progress when it comes down to working out. Design a program that's going to be beneficial for you. There is a particular exercise that you see within a workout that really, you're like, oh man, if those 2 exercises weren't in there, I would definitely do it. Switch up those 2 exercises, swap them out for something that's going to hit that particular muscle group that it's meant to, that you feel comfortable with executing, and that you can actually track progress off of that lift, because that's going to help maximize your potential. That's what's going to help with making progress. And it's going to support what you're doing with nutrition. It's going to support with what you're doing emotionally, psychologically, with your goals. It's all going to align with what you're doing. I think the biggest thing is, like I said, is the main goal is to find something that you're going to fully enjoy doing, something that you're fully going to make sure that's going to help you continually stay engaged. Some people I've noticed with bodybuilders, when they're in their building phase, they go into almost a powerlifting type mindset. They have goals, they have progression, they have microcycle progressions, and the way that they approach it, they may even do powerlifting meets between their extended building phase, just to help out with that focus and that variety, that versatility of what it looks like to be a complete athlete. And that helps out. The more you have tracked your progression, the more you have goals that you can kind of hit milestones with, the more you enjoy your workout. That's what's really going to help with making progression. The happier that you are, that does play a role in the way that your body is going to respond to a particular exercise or workout stimulus. And so that's how I'm approaching it with fat training. I'm not saying that's the ultimate only way to do it. I actually feel like there's other ways that you can do it. You can do a typical 3x3 day training split, your typical bro thing, push, leg, pull. It really doesn't matter. When it comes down to it, if you're doing the exercises right, if you're following a particular protocol, following the principles and adjusting where it needs to be to fit you and your lifestyle, and you're on track with your nutrition, you're gonna make progress. There is no magic bullet or magic workout that's gonna get you the best results. I would say there's a lot of different protocols out there that are gonna get you results, but it's how much effort and how much time you're spending making sure that you're hitting those marks and marking those progressions as well. It's not always about linear progression, like I've said. It's really about that continuous process of seeing little progressions to get to that big goal. And I don't like looking at when you're not contest prepping as an off season. That gives the negative connotation that anything goes, or you're just not as focused or as driven. I like to look at it as a building phase or just a progression phase of how I'm going to improve my physique on a different level, not just losing body fat, but to actually put on lean mass, and what's going to support that as I continue that process. So it may look a little differently once you get off a contest prep on what it looks like a building phase, because contest prep, you have a deadline. It's like a shorter deadline comparable to an extended building phase. And so you got to find ways to mark that progression. And that's what kept you focused and driven throughout a contest prep, is seeing those little progressions week to week, day to day. And I'm not saying that you have to be anal about it, but that's going to help with staying driven. But like I said, it's more of an overview, like I said, of covering that. If there's any other topics, if there's any other things that you have questions about, leave them in the comments below and I can adjust to them. I can read them, reply to them, or I can make a whole another video on question and answers. But I'm going to definitely talk about my current state week to week and keep up with my weekly vlogs as far as how I'm approaching my macros, how am I approaching my workouts. Do I change it? Do I move on to something else? I want to keep you guys involved as far as I go into my 1.5-year building phase. But thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support as I went through my contest prep. It definitely had those moments where I wanted to, just kind of be done. But I appreciate all your support. And now moving into the building phase, it's still continually making that progress and continually keeping focused and driven, because dedicating 1.5 years to step away from the stage, something that I love to do, is a hard thing for me. I know I'm going to feel that as I see people step on stage next year, but the goal is to make progression. And as long as I keep that focus, as long as you keep that focus too, that's what's going to help you become that much better when you step on stage again, or whatever you decide to do. But I appreciate all your support, and if there's any questions, just leave them on below. All right, bye-bye. Thanks.